everyone, welcome back to my channel Tutelage, a guide to learner. Here, this is Sriparna. I hope all of you are doing well. So, we have already started a session on Unit 3 that is called Learner and Learning Theory. And our last session on the basically the first part of that unit, that is growth and development. Okay. So if you have missed my previous session, so please go and check it once. I hope this session will be a very interesting session to everyone. So my previous session link is already available in my first comment and my description box. So please go and check it once if you need. So learner, today we are planning to explain the another subpart of the same unit, that is the Piaget's theory. And you all know that Piaget's theory of cognitive development is one of the most important theory in education. Okay, so now going to the next slide. So here we can see our today's topic, that is cognitive development and the Piaget's stages of cognitive development. So we have already told the definition of cognitive development and the process in my last session. So before going to the main discussion, we have to revise the main thing or the basic meaning of the cognitive development and the cognitive process. Okay, so now move on to the next slide. And today's topic is basically the Piaget's theory, and this Piaget's theory is a huge concept. So basically this session is the part 1, okay, on the Piaget's theory. Clear? So now going to the next slide. So here we can see cognitive development, what is called cognitive development, or what is meant by cognitive development. So cognitive development, just a minute learner, just change the color. Okay. So cognitive development means the development of the ability to think and reason. So we all know that cognition, all things are related to the process of mental action, process of thought, process of senses. So that's why cognitive development means the development of ability to think and reason. So basically it is related with the mental action. How does the person acquire the new knowledge in mind? Okay, that is the basic meaning of cognitive development. So now going to the next slide, and here we can see one of the most well-known theory of cognitive development, that is Piaget's theory. Okay, so now going to the next slide, and where we can see the entire process of cognitive development. But in my last session we have already told elaborately the entire process of cognitive development. So if you have missed my previous session, so please go and check it once. My previous session link is already available in my description box and my first comment. Okay, so please go and check it once. So here we have to revise the process, the basic process or the basic stages of cognitive development, because which is related to the Piaget's theory. Okay, so now going to the the process thing. Okay, so the first, here we can see the total stages of cognitive development, or the total process of cognitive development is 6. Okay, so the first one is attention, the second one is perception, third one is memory, fourth one is learning, fifth one is language, and the sixth one is high reasoning. So what is the attention stage, learner? So you all know attention is basically indicates the process for selecting object, that is also physical or abstract. So basically, attention indicates the process for selecting something. Okay, now move on to the second stage, that is the perception. So perception basically indicates the process for capturing information, capturing new information from environment and processing it or acquiring it in mind. Now going to the third stage, that is memory, and it is basically related with the storing, finding, accessing the knowledge in mind. So first three stages are attention, perception, memory. So attention is the process for selecting something, perception is the process for capturing some new information from the environment and acquiring it in mind, and the memory, the third stage, memory is the process for storing and finding and accessing the knowledge also. Now going to the fourth stage. Okay, so that is learning. So learning is basically obviously process for synthesizing the new knowledge. So learner, here we can see fifth and sixth stages name are wrong. Okay, so it's just a mistake. So the what is the name of fifth stage? We all know the fifth stage name is language. Okay, and the sixth stage, that is higher reasoning. So language is basically the process for understanding and communicating through it, and we all know without language communication is impossible. Now going to the last stage, or which is one of the first stage of cognitive, first stage, not the first stage, which is the higher stage of cognitive development, that is higher reasoning, and it indicates the process which involves reflective cognition such as problem solving, planning, etc. I think this is clear. So if you have any doubt on it, so please go and check my previous session, and if needed, so you can ping me um, on my comment section and my WhatsApp number. Okay, so I think this is really helpful to everyone. So now going to the main slide for today's session, that is the Piaget's theory. So this is a photograph of Jean Piaget, we all know. So here we will discuss the cognitive theories by Jean Piaget, and its time period basically 1896 to 1980. So Jean Piaget's time period, okay, 1896 to 1980, and he was the first psychologist, and he was the most influential researcher in this area also. And Piaget was concerned with the person's thought process and mental states, because these theories basically focuses on the cognitive development, and we all know that cognitive development deals with the process of mental action. Okay, so that's why uh, it is concerned with the person's thought processes and the mental states. So now move on to the next slide. So Piaget's cognitive development model or theory basically uh, focuses not only on the understanding of how children acquire knowledge, it is also it is also focuses on the understanding the nature of intelligence. Okay, so it focuses on the thought process of human being and the nature of intelligence also. So I think this is clear what is the basic meaning of cognitive development and what is the basic meaning of Piaget's cognitive theory and cognitive model. So basically, it focuses not only on the understanding how children acquire the knowledge, but also on understanding the nature of intelligence. So the both, it is basically related with the both thing. The first thing, that is the acquire knowledge in mind, and the second thing, that is nature of intelligence of the human body also. So I think what is the basic meaning behind the Piaget's theory of cognitive development is clear to everyone. So now move on to the next slide. And here we can see the basic process of acquiring new knowledge. And here we can see the first thing, that is assimilation. Second one, equilibrium, new situation, disequilibrium. And after that, every human being is in accommodation. Yeah, every human being reaches these last level, that is the accommodation level. Okay, and all basically the every human body starts with the assimilation level and ends with the accommodation level. So between assimilation and accommodation, there are three stage basically. The first one is equilibrium, new situation, and the disequilibrium thing, and after that he or she is in accommodation level. So at first we have to know what do you mean by assimilation, equilibrium, accommodation, and one of the most important thing of this topic, that is schema. Okay, so now going to the next slide, and we will discuss it in the next slide basically. So here we can see one of the most important key component of the Piaget's cognitive development theory, that is schemas. Okay, so here we can see schemas, basically the blocks of knowledge which is gained through experience and interacting with the environment. Okay, so what do you mean by schema, learner? So basically, schema is a cognitive framework. Okay, cognitive framework or concept that helps organize, interpret the information, and we use it because they allow us to take shortcuts in interpreting the vast amount of information and that is available in our environment. So schema is basically helps in interpreting the vast amount of information in mind. So what is schema? Schema is basically a blocks of knowledge which is uh, gained through different types of experience and interacting with the environment. That is called schema. Okay, so a schema is both the category of knowledge as well as the process of acquiring that knowledge. So Piaget believed that people are constantly adapting to the environment as they take in new information and learn new things, and that is the basic thing about Piaget's theory, Piaget's process of acquiring new knowledge. So at first stage, that is schema. Schema is basically the blocks of knowledge. Okay, and now going to the next stage, so that is adaptation basically and equilibrium. So adaptation stage is of two types. The first one is assimilation and the second one is accommodation. So before going to the discussion on adaptation, at first we have to say the example of schema. So a young child may first develop a schema for a horse. She knows that horse is a large, has hair, has four legs and a tail. So that is the basic schema of horse of the that is the basic schema for a horse. Okay, so I think this is clear what is schema. So basically the knowledge of horse indicates the schema of the first schema of the young child. So this is the example of this is an example of schema. Now going to the adaptation stage, and adaptation we have already told, adaptation is of two types. First one is assimilation and second one is accommodation. So at first we have to discuss what is assimilation, learner. So do you have any idea, learner, what is assimilation and what is accommodation? Okay. So assimilation basically a process of taking a new information into our already existed schema. So from example, we have already know what is our already what is our not our what is the already existed schemas of the young child. So already existed schemas, that is horse characteristics of horse. Okay, so characteristics of horse is already existed schema of the young child. Okay, so assimilation is basically the process of taking new information which is basically collecting from our environment. So what is the basic for what is a new information? So, for example, we can say when he or she encounters a cow for the first time, so she might initially call it a horse because a cow has hair, cow has four legs, a tail, etc. Okay, so after all, it fits in with her schema for the characteristics of a horse. So that's why he or she might initially call it a horse. So this process is basically a assimilation process. When a child learns the word for horse, they start to call all four-legged animals horse. So this is basically a example of assimilation stage. So what is the new information? So new information is characteristics of cow, and already existed schema, that means knowledge. Okay, so already existed schema, that is characteristics of horse. So assimilation is the process of new information, for example, the characteristics of cow, into our already existed schemas, for example, the characteristics of horse. I think this is clear what is schema and what is assimilation process. Now move on to the next stage in the second level, that is adaptation, and that is accommodation. Okay, so accommodation basically indicates changing our existing schemas in the light of new information. Okay, for example, we can say after knowing all things, he or she knows cow is a different animal. Horse and cow are totally different animal. So she or he will modify her existing schema for a horse and create a new schema for a cow. So that changing process is basically called the accommodation. Okay, so I think this is clear what is accommodation. So he or she will change uh, his or her existing schema. What is the existing schema? That is the characteristics of horse, and which one is the new information? So new information is characteristics of cow. So he or she will modify their his or her knowledge. So that stage, that level, that process is called the accommodation. And now move on to the last stage, that is equilibration. So equilibration from name we can say equilibrium situation, we all know. So equilibration is basically a balance between assimilation and accommodation. So it is basically an ongoing process that refines and transforms mental structures constituting the basis of cognitive development. If new schema is in balance with the existing one, then that kind of balance is referred to equilibration by Jean Piaget. Okay, and children have proper knowledge which animal is cow and which animal is horse. Okay, so in that stage, human being or the child or child basically reaches the reaches the equilibrium level. So he or she is in equilibrium situation. So I think this is clear what is schema, what is assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. So if you have any doubt on it, so please do one comment in my comment section. I will reply you positively. Now move on to the next slide. And here we can see Piaget's four stages of Piaget's theory. So the first stage, that is sensory motor stage, and that includes 0 to 2 years. Second stage, pre-operational stage, 2 to 7 years. Concrete stage, that is the third stage, that includes 7 to 12 years children. And the last stage, that is formal stage, that includes 12 years and above children. So, in our next session, we will discuss it elaborately. Okay, the different stages of cognitive development by Jean Piaget. Okay, so learner, we are done for the today's session. If you like my session, do one like, comment, and share with your near ones. Please do some support and subscribe to my channel. Your one comment is one of the most important key to motivate me. So please stay with me. Thank you. Happy learning. Keep commenting.